dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Carmouche. Former President Donald Trump holding events Saturday, a day after a judge ruled on the penalties he will have to pay for inflating his assets to receive favorable loan terms. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavidez reports the ruling also affects Trump's adult sons.
That's the real deal.
Former President Donald Trump at a traveling sneaker show event, SneakerCon, in Philadelphia Saturday, unveiling his Never Surrender high tops. And back on the campaign trail in Michigan.
The decision yesterday in New York, you may have read about it. Crooked judge, crooked judge. He's a crooked judge.
A day after a New York judge ruled he'd have to surrender hundreds of millions of dollars for conning banks into favorable loan terms by inflating his assets, including his Trump Tower penthouse and Mar-a-Lago, exaggerating its value by as much as 2,300%. Judge Arthur Engoron ordered Trump to pay more than $354 million. The former president was also banned from running a business or applying for loans in New York for 3 years. His sons, Don Jr. and Eric, were each fined $4 million and banned for 2 years. New York's Attorney General brought forward the civil lawsuit under a state law that allows her to prosecute fraud in business dealings.
The scale and the scope of Donald Trump's fraud is staggering.
This whole thing is very unfair.
The judge said of Trump and the other defendants, their complete lack of remorse borders on pathological. On Trump himself, who took the stand 2 times, the judge said his refusal to answer questions directly, or in some cases at all, severely compromised his credibility. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, New York.
The penalties could be even bigger than the amount of $355 million. The New York Attorney General's office says it could grow to $450 million with interest. The Pine Mountain Partnership is hosting a series of meetings updating folks on upcoming projects in Letcher County. Executive Director Jeffrey Justice says from tourism projects to industrial projects, there are several things throughout the county officials are working on. He says this is a way for folks to stay informed and give their input on such projects.
So we want to present all of these things in front of the people of Letcher County. This is not new projects. All of these things are things that have been working or have been worked on for months and years that are going to happen. So we want to educate the public on what's really going on in their backyard and things that they should be excited about.
The meetings are on Wednesday and Thursday next week. Justice says the sessions are free of charge. For more information on how you can register, you can find the link in this story on our website. Dozens of people braved the weather to raise money for Lexington's unhoused community. They did it with the Lexington Rescue Mission's Walk for Warmth. It's a program where the nonprofit helps people who are homeless find housing. Executive Director of the Lexington Rescue Mission, Laura Carr, says more than 150 people show up at the mission for help each day.
It is a cold morning, but we have a warm heart. So with our warm heart, we're going to just try to enjoy all the people that's coming out this morning to walk, and we all have the same reasons for being here.
Officials say at any given moment, roughly 20 people are waiting to be housed through their program. We're halfway through American Heart Month, and UK health professionals want to remind you how serious heart disease is. Doctors tell us it's the #1 killer in men and women, and more than 30 people die from it in Kentucky every day. Now, one Kentucky nurse, who is usually the first person you see in an emergency, is telling Grayson Passmore about the time he needed help.
The thing that started to really scare me is I was like, I am in a hotel room by myself, and I need to get out of here. This is where they find people.
An emergency department nurse of 47 years, Terry Foster checked into the Campbell House Hotel the night before he was supposed to speak at the Kentucky Emergency Nurses Association conference. It was around 5 a.m. when he started to feel some discomfort in his chest, and just an hour later, he would find himself in need of emergency care.
I just walked down and I said, I need help. And they looked at me and they said, you look like hell. And I felt like it.
Foster was having a heart attack. It was 3 UK healthcare nurses setting up in the hotel lobby who called 911.
I remember thinking I would have done the same thing, or I'm glad they're doing that.
Foster was rushed to UK's cardiac cath lab. A stent was placed to stop the heart attack. Foster is back home with his family. Chief of Cardiology, Dr. Vincent Sorrell, says that initial discomfort Foster felt is just one of the typical symptoms.
Maybe a pressure, a tightness, or a fullness sensation. Could be something as simple as a burning. We usually tell our patients if it's something you haven't experienced before, something new, that should be a concern.
Dr. Sorrell says alert a loved one immediately. It could save your life.
In fact, only about half the people survive their first big heart attack.
A fact Foster is certain not to take for granted. In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
Dr. Sorrell stresses the importance of routine checkups, especially if you have high blood pressure, family history, or other predispositions to heart disease. We'll be right back after this break.